there, my name is Nora Crone. I'm a violist in New York City, co-founder of the Tilt Project for String Players, and a musician's vocal dystonia recovery advocate. The topic of this video, which is going to be especially relevant for string players, is the point of sound. So if you're new to this channel, you may want to go watch some of my previous videos for more context on the process that both facilitated my recovery and is my approach to assisting others, which is a system of string playing called the Till approach. But just to sum up, learning movements based on physical logic, the same physical logic that we use in our everyday lives, and in turn applying those movements to the instrument and the demands of the music, gradually changed my brain and nervous system, and my dystonic symptoms disappeared. So what is the point of sound, and what does it have to do with dystonia recovery? The point of sound is actually a very simple concept. It's the depth of string needed to produce clear pitch on the instrument. Most of the time that ends up being the fingerboard, but not always. In higher registers, as we get closer to the bridge and the tension in the strings increases, that tension itself can produce a clear pitch without the string touching the fingerboard. In my own dystonia recovery and in my work with others, what I've found is that the moment of engaging the string is often triggering for musicians with dystonia symptoms in the left hand, for obvious reasons. The good news is it's absolutely possible to change our relationship to this unavoidable aspect of our technique. And if you follow along with this video, it should give you a sense of what dystonia recovery in the Till approach looks like in general. So as with any aspect of our technique, the first place to start is always by observing the principles of normal, healthy movement. Let's do this. Just massage your temples for a moment. It's a simple action, anyone can do it, and it even feels kind of nice, especially if you're a little tense or if you've got a headache. But actually, there's so much going on here that we can use to our benefit. First of all, notice the natural alignment of the fingers, hand, and forearm. It's unlikely that many of you went to your head like this. That would be pretty unstable and uncomfortable, and it would also look pretty silly. Notice also that you've probably got one, maybe two fingers touching, and that the other fingers are released and neutral. They're weightless, but also arranged in support of the finger or fingers that are touching so that the whole hand really feels like a unit. When you start, you're at the surface of your skin, and then as you begin to massage, the energy released through your forearm in the direction of your head sends the entire mechanism deeper toward your skull. The fulcrums, or joints, in your fingers, hand, and wrist are resilient, meaning that they give a little bit at first, and then they bounce back and hold their shape, which makes them very sturdy even as we increase the amount of power coming through the arm. All right, now notice that if you go from massaging with, let's say, your index finger, and then switch to your pinky, you let go, rotate the entire finger, hand, and forearm unit according to the location of the next finger, and land there with that entire unit aligned behind the finger for support. Now, the pinky probably wouldn't be our first choice for this task, but we can actually get the same amount of power on that one as the index. We just need more power from the forearm aligned behind it. None of you, I bet, tried to get to the pinky by mushing down all of your other fingers along with it, or by freezing the arm and twisting to get the pinky down. So what have we got here? First of all, finger, hand, forearm alignment. The reason that any one of our fingers can feel good doing this, and that we can exercise such fine control over it, is because those fingers are functioning as part of a complete mechanism that includes all of the fingers, the hand, the wrist, the arm, the shoulder, and so on. Which brings us to another fundamental principle. For the body to feel good and function well, each part does its job according to and in proportion to its design, no more and no less. The reason that the fingers feel good here is that they have a finger-sized job, with the hand and arm also doing their part. If we disconnect the fingers from the rest of the mechanism, which can happen in any one of a number of ways, like isolating them, or breaking the fulcrum of the wrist, or stretching, or twisting, the fingers are being asked to do something that they aren't designed to do. All of this information, by the way, originates with the Taubman approach to piano, which violinist Sophie Till has adapted to string playing and further developed. If you want to dive further into that history and context, I will leave some links down below. So let's check this out on the instrument. We'll start by doing this with the instrument looking at us. So with whichever is the non-affected hand, probably your right hand, just touch the strings as if they were any other object, maybe for the first time. Notice their texture, their size, the way they feel. And actually, we have extraordinary sensitivity on the ends of our fingers, which is another reason it's so important to regain our awareness of the point of sound and how we get there. Often we've spent so many years slamming our fingers into the fingerboard that we've actually lost some of the sensitivity that we need to inform our movements. It's a little bit like walking around with our feet numb. Okay, now just test the strings a little, kind of like when we were massaging our temples. And just notice, how much force do you really need to get the string to touch the fingerboard? The answer, which is usually quite surprising to us, is very little. Since that power is coming from the forearm and not from the finger itself, the string goes down pretty easily. If you'd like, you can try with your other hand and compare. Is it the same experience? If not, can you identify the differences? How is the finger-hand forearm alignment? Do you notice any stretching or curling or isolating or twisting or breaking a fulcrum? Or is it maybe a different experience in the brain? Are there different emotional sensations coming up? If so, it can be helpful to close your eyes and go back and forth, keeping your attention on the non-affected arm and asking your brain to copy that version on the affected side. You can even pretend like you have two right arms. And you can practice this over time and see if the affected arm begins to learn from the other one. Now I want to mention that even approaching the string from this orientation can be so triggering that we're really better off with an intermediate step. And this is where things get creative. First of all, you can try engaging with different squishable surfaces, your opposite arm, let's say, or the side of your leg, therapy ball, or maybe your favorite stuffed animal. And notice how, whatever you're touching and however deeply, the experience is the same. That's the experience we're looking to recreate on the string, which allows the brain to begin taking the instrument out of the special category of alien logic where we've placed it and begin putting it back into the context of normal objects that we relate to in normal ways. Another great tool is a rubber band stretched out over the lid of a jar or something similar. If you want to go make one of these for yourself, just hit pause and come back and I'll wait. All right, we good? Cool. So let's start with the right hand again and notice that, yes, the rubber band is thinner than the side of our head or our stuffed zebra, but that doesn't affect the recipe that we use to engage with it. So this contraption that we have created also has another advantage, which is that there's a fixed stop point or floor, similar to our skull under the skin of our temple. And quite sensibly, when we realize that we've gotten to that stop point, we stop. None of you would probably try and mash the rubber band into the jar lid, right? It's not going anywhere. We're just going to end up with a sore arm and fingers. Think now about how much force we typically use to get the string down. And if we're honest with ourselves, the question is, why? Once we've gotten to the depth required to produce a clear and ringing pitch, slathering on more force isn't going to do much besides hurt us and gradually deaden the sensitivity on the ends of our fingers. And if you check out this handy-dandy diagram, you'll see that mashing the string down with our finger is only going to block the vibration of the string. If anything, we get less sound, not more. So if you feel ready, let's try getting to the point of sound. Now, to be clear, when I work with people one-on-one, there may be numerous steps required to get to this point. And depending on where you are individually right now, this exploration may be more or less successful. But I wanted to give us all an opportunity to test it out. So without your bow, throw your arm up to the fingerboard. Then bring your right hand up to your temple. Choose a finger on both hands and, making your left arm copy the right, go a little deeper toward the surface of the string until you feel that stop point, the point of sound underneath, and don't go any further. then back up to the surface level again, and repeat. It's amazing, isn't it? It's such a tiny string and such a small space for it to cover. And so there's really very little force needed. Now let's try with the bow. This is going to sound horrible, and that's fine. Pick any note, start at the surface of the string, and gradually release more power through the forearm, just like you did on your temple, until you get a clear pitch. And that's it, the point of sound. So this is just one example, and I chose it because it's one that comes up really frequently for musicians vocal dystonia sufferers. But the truth is that any aspect of our technique or any so-called trigger of dystonic symptoms can be analyzed in this way. Observing the physical logic at play, using the non-affected arm and/or everyday objects, and then transferring that logic to the instrument. If you found this video helpful, please like it and forward it to anyone who you think might benefit. If you want more videos on dystonia recovery, you can subscribe to my channel, and if you want more tips on healthy string playing in general, you can subscribe to the Tilt Project. I'm Nora Crone, and if you'd like to work with me or just want to get in touch, my website is www.noracrone.com. Thanks everyone, see you next time.